In this video, you'll explore 100 essential terms from Domain 5 of the ISC2 Certified in Cybersecurity exam to help you prepare and build confidence. They are derived from data security concepts, system hardening, best practice of security policies, and security awareness training. Let's get started. 1. Acceptable Use Policy, AUP. An acceptable use policy is a set of rules that define how employees can use the organization's computers, networks, and data. It prevents misuse by setting clear expectations and restrictions. For instance, a company's AUP may forbid employees from downloading pirated software on work laptops to avoid security risks and legal issues. 2. Anti-malware solutions. Anti-malware solutions are software tools that detect, block, and remove malicious programs such as viruses, worms, spyware, and ransomware from systems. For example, an organization installs anti-malware software on all employee devices to detect ransomware before it encrypts company files. 3. Application server. An application server is a computer that hosts and runs business applications, allowing client devices to access them remotely. For example, an HR application server lets employees log in to update personal information or request leave through a web interface. 4. APIs. An application programming interface, API, is a set of rules and tools that let software programs talk to each other securely. For instance, a weather website uses an API to fetch live temperature data from a government server. 5. Archive. Archiving is the process of moving inactive or older data to a separate storage location for long-term retention. For example, an organization archives past financial reports to cloud storage to meet compliance rules while keeping active storage free. 6. Asymmetric encryption. Asymmetric encryption is a method that uses two keys, a public key for encryption and a private key for decryption. For instance, when sending a confidential email, the sender encrypts it with the recipient's public key, and only the recipient's private key can unlock it. 7. Authentication. Authentication is the process of verifying that someone or something is who they claim to be before granting access. For example, logging into a banking app with a password and fingerprint scan ensures only the rightful account owner can enter. 8. Authorization. Authorization is the process of granting a user permission to access certain resources after authentication. For example, a staff member logs into the network but can only access files related to their department due to authorization rules. 9. Backup. A backup is a copy of important data stored separately to restore it in case of loss or corruption. For example, a school backs up student records daily to a secure cloud service in case of server failure. 10. Baiting. Baiting is a social engineering attack in which attackers lure victims with something attractive, like free software, to trick them into compromising security. For instance, an employee finds a free USB stick in the parking lot, plugs it in, and unknowingly installs malware. 11. Baseline. A baseline is the approved, secure configuration of a system or process used as a standard for comparison. For example, after securing a new server, the IT team records its configuration as the baseline to detect future unauthorized changes. 12. Bring your own device, BYOD. Bring your own device, BYOD, is a policy allowing employees to use personal devices for work purposes under specific security guidelines. For example, a marketing employee uses their own laptop to access company files but must install company security software first. 13. Categorize. Categorizing data means grouping it based on its type or purpose to apply proper security measures. For instance, a hospital categorizes data into patient medical records, billing details, and public health announcements. 14. Change Advisory Board, CAB. A Change Advisory Board, CAB, is a group of stakeholders who review and approve proposed changes to IT systems before implementation. For example, before upgrading a payroll system, the CAB reviews the change to ensure it won't disrupt salary processing. 15. Change control. Change control is the process of managing system changes so they are authorized, documented, and tested, For instance, IT staff follow a change control process when applying a new software patch to avoid accidental service outages. 16. Change management. Change management is the structured approach to transitioning from a current system or process to a new one. For example, a company adopts a new HR platform, following change management to train staff and migrate data smoothly. 17. Cloud Access Security Broker, CASB. A Cloud Access Security Broker, CASB, is a security tool that monitors and controls data traffic between users and cloud services. For example, a CASB prevents employees from uploading sensitive files to unauthorized cloud storage platforms. 18. Checksum. A checksum is a value calculated from data to detect errors during storage or transmission. For example, when downloading software, the system compares the file's checksum with the original to ensure no tampering occurred. 19. Ciphertext. Ciphertext is data that has been transformed into an unreadable form using encryption. For example, after encrypting a credit card number, it becomes ciphertext that hackers can't understand without the decryption key. 20. Classify. Classifying data means assigning a sensitivity level based on the harm it could cause if exposed. For instance, a company classifies trade secrets as highly restricted while public press releases are unrestricted. 21. Compliance audit. A compliance audit checks whether an organization meets specific laws, policies, and regulations. For example, a healthcare provider undergoes a HIPAA compliance audit to verify patient data protection practices. 22. Configuration management. Configuration management ensures all system changes are controlled, documented, and validated to maintain security. For instance, the IT department tracks all software versions and updates to ensure unauthorized changes are not made. 23. Confidential message. A confidential message is information meant to be read only by authorized recipients. For example, a legal team encrypts contract details before emailing them to ensure confidentiality. 24. Cryptanalyst. A cryptanalyst is a specialist who studies and breaks encryption systems to find weaknesses. For instance, a government cryptanalyst works to detect flaws in a suspected cybercriminal's encryption method. 25. Cryptographic hash. A cryptographic hash is a unique value generated from data, used to verify its integrity. For example, a software installer's hash is compared to the vendor's official hash to ensure the file hasn't been altered. 26. Cryptography. Cryptography is the practice of securing information by converting it into a coded form to prevent unauthorized access. For example, online banking transactions use cryptography to encrypt sensitive data like account numbers so hackers can't read them. 27. Data access. Data access refers to the ability to view, retrieve, or modify stored information based on permissions. For instance, an HR manager can access employee salary records, while regular staff cannot. 28. Data destruction. Data destruction is the process of permanently removing data so it cannot be recovered. For example, a company uses a shredding machine to destroy old backup tapes containing customer information. 29. Data disclosure. Data disclosure is the release of information, either intentionally or accidentally, to unauthorized parties. For instance, emailing customer details to the wrong recipient is an accidental data disclosure. 30. Data handling. Data handling refers to the way data is collected, stored, processed, and shared according to security policies. For example, an IT department ensures personal data is stored in encrypted databases and transmitted via secure channels. 31. Data handling policy. A data handling policy is a document that outlines how different types of data should be managed securely. For example, it might specify that sensitive files must be encrypted before being sent via email. 32. Data labeling. Data labeling is the process of marking data with its sensitivity level for easier identification and protection. For instance, files marked as confidential are stored in restricted folders and accessed only by authorized personnel. 33. Data loss prevention, DLP. DLP is a technology and strategy that prevents sensitive data from being leaked outside an organization. For example, DLP software blocks attempts to email company trade secrets to external addresses. 34. Data retention. Data retention is the practice of storing data for a specific period to meet legal, business, or regulatory needs. For instance, tax records are kept for 7 years to comply with financial regulations. 35. Data sanitization. Data sanitization is the process of removing data from storage devices so it cannot be recovered. For example, a wiped hard drive is sanitized before being resold to ensure no old files remain. 36. Data sensitivity levels. Data sensitivity levels are categories that indicate the level of protection required for information. For instance, government documents may be labeled public, confidential, or top secret depending on their impact if leaked. 37. Decryption. Decryption is the process of converting encrypted data back into its original readable form. For example, when you receive an encrypted email, your email client decrypts it so you can read it. 38. Degaussing. Degaussing is a method of erasing data from magnetic storage by disrupting its magnetic fields. For instance, old backup tapes are degaussed before disposal to ensure no data can be restored. 39. Digital signature. A digital signature is an electronic mark used to verify the authenticity and integrity of a digital message or document. For example, a signed PDF contract includes a digital signature proving it was not altered after signing. 40. Egress monitoring. Egress monitoring tracks outgoing network traffic to prevent unauthorized data from leaving the system. For example, security tools detect and block an attempt to send a sensitive database to an external server. 41. Encrypt. Encrypting is the process of converting readable data into coded form to protect it from unauthorized access. For example, a company encrypts customer credit card information before storing it in a database. 42. Encryption system. An encryption system is the set of tools, algorithms, and processes used to secure data by encryption. For instance, a secure messaging app uses an end-to-end encryption system to protect conversations. 43. EPHI, Electronic Protected Health Information. Electronic Protected Health Information, EPHI, refers to digital health records that are protected by laws like HIPAA. For example, a patient's electronic medical history stored in a hospital database is considered EPHI. 44. File Transfer Protocol, FTP. File Transfer Protocol, FTP, is a network protocol used to transfer files between computers over the internet or a network. For example, a developer uploads a website's files to the hosting server using FTP software. 45. Firewall. A firewall is a security system that monitors and controls incoming and outgoing network traffic based on security rules. For example, a firewall blocks suspicious connections from unknown IP addresses to protect a company's network. 46. Gateway. A gateway is a device that connects two different networks and translates communication between them. For instance, a gateway connects a company's internal network to the internet. 47. GDPR. GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation, is a European Union law that governs how organizations handle personal data of EU citizens. For example, a company must get user consent before collecting personal information from visitors in the EU. 48. Hardening. Hardening is the process of securing a system by reducing its vulnerabilities. For example, disabling unused ports and services on a server is part of system hardening. 49. Hash function. A hash function is an algorithm that converts data into a fixed-length value, often used to check integrity. For example, a downloaded file's hash is compared to the original to ensure it wasn't modified. 50. Hashing. Hashing is the process of applying a hash function to data to generate a unique value for it. For example, passwords are stored as hashes instead of plain text to protect them from theft. 51. Highly restricted data. Highly restricted data is information that, if disclosed, could cause severe harm to an organization or individuals. For example, a bank's encryption keys for online transactions are highly restricted and stored in secure hardware devices to prevent theft. 52. IDS/IPS tools. IDS, Intrusion Detection System, monitors network traffic for suspicious activity, while IPS, Intrusion Prevention System, can also block it. For instance, an IDS detects a port scanning attempt, while an IPS automatically blocks the attacker's IP address. 53. Ingress monitoring. Ingress monitoring tracks incoming network traffic to identify and block malicious connections. For example, a firewall performs ingress monitoring to stop unauthorized login attempts from suspicious foreign IP addresses. 54. Internet usage policy. An internet usage policy defines how employees can use the organization's internet services responsibly. For example, a company's policy may prohibit streaming non-work-related videos during office hours to save bandwidth and prevent malware risks. 55. Inventory. Inventory is a detailed list of all assets, devices, and software owned by an organization. For example, the IT department keeps an inventory of laptops, servers, and licensed software for security and compliance purposes. 56. Key management. Key management refers to the process of generating, storing, and protecting encryption keys throughout their lifecycle. For instance, a cloud service provider uses secure key vaults to manage encryption keys for customer data. 57. Least privilege. The principle of least privilege means giving users only the minimum access they need to perform their job. For example, an intern in the finance department can view budget reports but cannot make changes. 58. Low sensitivity data. Low sensitivity data is information that, if exposed, would cause little or no harm. For instance, a company's publicly available holiday calendar is low sensitivity data. 59. Message digest. A message digest is the output of a hash function, used to verify the integrity of data. For example, an email system uses a message digest to ensure attachments are not altered during transmission. 60. Moderate sensitivity data. Moderate sensitivity data is information that, if disclosed, would cause some harm but not catastrophic damage. For example, internal project timelines are moderate sensitivity data. 61. Multi-factor authentication, MFA. Multi-factor authentication, MFA, is a security process that requires users to provide 2 or more verification factors before accessing a system. For instance, logging into a company VPN might require a password plus a one-time code sent to a smartphone. 62. Operating system. An operating system, OS, is software that manages hardware and software resources on a computer. For example, Windows, Mac OS, and Linux are operating systems that run applications and control devices. 63. Password aging. Password aging is a policy that requires users to change passwords after a certain period. For instance, employees must change their work passwords every 90 days. 64. Password creation policy. A password creation policy defines rules for making strong passwords, such as length and character requirements. For example, the policy may require passwords to be at least 12 characters with letters, numbers, and symbols. 65. Password policy. A password policy is a set of rules to create, use, and manage passwords securely. For instance, employees must never reuse old passwords and must keep them confidential. 66. Password protection. Password protection involves safeguarding passwords from being stolen or guessed. For example, using a password manager helps store and encrypt all login credentials. 67. Patch management. Patch management is the process of applying updates to fix security flaws in software. For example, IT staff regularly install security patches to prevent cyber attacks. 68. Patches. Patches are software updates that fix bugs, close security gaps, or add features. For instance, a patch may fix a vulnerability that hackers could exploit in an operating system. 69. PII. PII, Personally identifiable information is information that can identify an individual, such as name, address, or social security number. For example, a customer database containing email addresses and phone numbers is PII. 70. PIPEDA. The Personal Information Protection and Electronic Documents Act, PIPEDA, is a Canadian privacy law governing how organizations handle personal data. For instance, a Canadian business must follow PIPEDA rules when collecting customer contact details. 71. Plaintext. Plaintext is readable and unencrypted data. For example, a password typed into a login form before encryption is plaintext. 72. Portable Media Policy. A portable media policy defines rules for using USB drives, CDs, and external hard drives securely. For example, employees may only use encrypted USB drives to transfer work files. 73. Pretexting. Pretexting is a social engineering tactic where attackers create a fake scenario to trick people into giving information. For instance, someone pretends to be from IT support to get an employee's password. 74. Privacy Policy. A privacy policy is a statement that explains how an organization collects, uses, and protects personal data. For example, an online store's privacy policy tells customers how their information is stored and shared. 75. Quid pro quo. Quid pro quo is a social engineering attack where the attacker offers something in exchange for information. For instance, a scammer offers free software support in exchange for a user's login credentials. 76. Records retention. Records retention is the policy of keeping documents and data for a defined period to meet legal or business needs. For example, a law firm keeps client case files for 7 years before securely destroying them. 77. Remanence. Remanence refers to the residual data that remains on storage devices after attempts to erase it. For instance, files may still be recoverable from a hard drive even after deleting them, unless secure wiping is performed. 78. Remote authentication servers. Remote authentication servers verify user credentials for access to networks or services from a remote location. For example, employees logging in from home authenticate through a company's Radius server. 79. Request for Change, RFC. An RFC is a formal document proposing a change to an IT system, service, or process. For instance, an RFC might request upgrading the company's email system for better security. 80. Rollback. Rollback is the process of restoring a system to its previous state after a failed update or change. For example, if a software update causes errors, IT reverts the system to the backup version. 81. Security awareness. Security awareness is the knowledge and attitude employees have about protecting information assets. For instance, staff trained in phishing awareness are less likely to click on suspicious links. 82. Security awareness training. Security awareness training is a program that teaches employees how to recognize and respond to security threats. For example, a company runs quarterly sessions on password safety and social engineering prevention. 83. Security governance. Security governance is the framework of policies, roles, and responsibilities for managing security in an organization. For instance, a board committee oversees cybersecurity policies to ensure compliance with laws and regulations. 84. Security incident. A security incident is an event that compromises or threatens the confidentiality, integrity, or availability of information. For example, detecting malware on a company server is a security incident. 85. Service packs. Service packs are collections of updates, patches, and fixes for software released as a single package. For example, installing a Windows Service Pack updates multiple components at once. 86. SIEM solutions. SIEM, Security Information and Event Management, solutions collect and analyze security data from across an organization to detect threats. For example, a SIEM alerts administrators to unusual login patterns that might indicate a breach. 87. Smartwatch. A smartwatch is a wearable device that can access and process information, often connected to a smartphone. For instance, an employee's smartwatch can receive company email alerts but must be secured to prevent unauthorized access. 88. Social engineering. Social engineering is the manipulation of people to get confidential information or access. For example, a scammer convinces a receptionist to reveal a manager's travel schedule. 89. Software updates. Software updates are new versions or patches released to fix bugs, improve performance, or add features. For instance, an antivirus app update may add protection against a newly discovered malware strain. 90. Symmetric encryption. Symmetric encryption is a method that uses the same key to encrypt and decrypt data. For example, a backup file is encrypted with a password that must also be used to decrypt it. 91. System access policy. A system access policy defines who can access systems and under what conditions. For instance, remote access may only be allowed for managers using company-issued laptops. 92. System hardening. System hardening is the process of securing systems by reducing vulnerabilities and disabling unnecessary features. For example, IT disables unused accounts and installs security patches on a server. 93. Tailgating. Tailgating is when an unauthorized person follows an authorized person into a secure area without proper credentials. For example, someone slips in behind an employee entering with a swipe card. 94. Technical benchmarks. Technical benchmarks are security best practices provided by organizations like the Center for Internet Security. For instance, CIS benchmarks may recommend specific firewall settings to reduce risks. 95. Unauthorized data disclosure. Unauthorized data disclosure is the release of confidential information without permission. For example, an employee accidentally sends payroll details to the wrong email address. 96. Unrestricted public data. Unrestricted public data is information that can be freely shared without risk. For example, a company's marketing brochure is unrestricted public data. 97. Verification and audit. Verification and audit involve checking and reviewing systems, processes, or data for accuracy and compliance. For instance, an annual IT audit verifies that security policies are followed. 98. Phishing. Phishing, voice phishing, is a scam where attackers call and trick victims into revealing sensitive information. For example, a caller pretends to be from a bank to get account login details. 99. Web server. A web server is software or hardware that delivers website content to users over the internet. For instance, a company's web server hosts its public website and online services. 100. Whaling attack. A whaling attack is a phishing scam targeting high-level executives to steal sensitive data or money. For example, a CEO receives a fake email that appears to come from a trusted business partner requesting a wire transfer. Thank you for watching the end of this video. Please like and share this video and subscribe to our channel so you stay with our latest tutorials, quizzes, and multiple choice questions, and leave any feedback or queries in the comments section.